Welcome, everyone. Today, I have a very, very special guest, Caleb Luketic. How are you doing today? Welcome. He's a fellow agency owner. So I'm excited
Yeah,
to
that's
bring
what
him
I'm
on.
talking about, man. Doing awesome, man. Thank you for having me, man. I love, honestly, I just love going to masterminds and doing these podcasts and doing other things with other agency owners because I feel like we get to nerd out and we all just get so excited about, all of the stuff that we're all working on, helping investors with, doing stuff like it. Man, it's just, I love it, man. Love it so much. It's awesome.
Let's go into it. So if you're an investor and you want to sign up with an agency, listen to this and you'll see who's better, and then you decide who you want to sign up with. No, just kidding.
That,
Kind of.
that's
But
awesome.
can you just give maybe a quick kind of shameless plug elevator pitch? Get it right out of the way in the beginning. What do you
Yeah.
do? Maybe your agency kind of overview of that, and then if you have any real estate experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll give the shameless plug as well, and then we'll talk kind of the backstory and all of that stuff. But as you see, based on the hat, Steel Marketing, yes. Pittsburgh is home. Yes, I've got season tickets to the Steelers, and yes, I drive up to all of the home games from Johnson City, Tennessee, back up home. So hence the bridge and the name and all of that stuff. But really, we do all things SEO, PPC, creation of CRMs, mainly onto the Go high level platform, building websites, all the typical kind of agency stuff. And we, SEO is definitely for me, it's SEO 1, PPC 2, social media ads 3rd, in terms of order of what I'm really good at. So there's the shameless stuff there. I actually also do some the fractional CMO stuff as well. So if you guys are, needing more of a hands-on from A to Z to something hey, come and build our SOPs and everything, we do that as well. But backstory. So I actually started wholesaling back in 2016. I met my wife, and you go through the typical meeting the family. Hey, what do you do? Those types of things. And well, my brother-in-law, he's also an X-ray tech, fixing all of those machines and all that stuff, but he also flipped houses. And I was like, HGTV stuff? And he was like, kinda, yeah, like that. And he's like, do you want to come by and check out some of the flips? I was like, yeah, let's go hang out. Really just being gotta win him over because I really like this girl. I really, I gotta make a good impression here. Ended up, and he was like, well, I've been looking for some help, and broke college kid. And I was like, well, money impresses people usually, especially girls. So let's figure out, how to make some money, right? I can't kid you not, man. That's exactly what happened. So we just started wholesaling and flipping some houses, and really just got into he was already doing SEO a little bit, and we just bought in a bunch of trainings, bought the Carrot training probably back in 2015 or so, and then bought some other training. Yeah. So was just hanging out with Trevor last week in
the family.
Tampa. Yeah. Cool. So but yeah, man, so just bought all these trainings, and for our own selfish reasons, we needed more leads. Texting wasn't really a thing back then, that didn't really happen. Cold calling was a thing, but we're this online thing's pretty sweet. We just get a handful of leads, pretty good quality. For us, it worked out fantastic. And so literally just had other investors be like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, well, we're doing SEO and Google ads a little bit. What are you doing? Oh, well, we've been really looking to get into that. Could you help me? Yeah, why not? I had no idea what the term agency was. Genuinely didn't even know what that word was. Had about 20 clients, bought this training course just to do SEO better, right? And he's talking about, oh, here's how you do this for your clients at your agencies. I get on Zoom with the guy that started this. I'm like, so what's an agency? And he looked at me kind of why are you in this? Wait a minute, what? The whole course was here's how you do SEO and start up an agency. I had no idea. I was just oh, learn more about some SEO. Awesome. If I just get one nugget that generates me one more lead, I'll make a bunch of extra money, totally worth it. And that was in 2017. And here we are about 6 years later, just keeping rolling. So I had no intention of starting an agency ever. Didn't even I was helping 20 investors and didn't even know what the word agency was. Had no idea, looking like a complete idiot. And, here we are.
So what does your agency look like now? What is maybe how many clients you're working with? You have a team? Is it just you? What kind of scope and scale is your business?
Yeah, man. So we were just last summer I just exited out of another large agency that I was a part of. And there we had multiple franchises on and about 200 people on the fulfillment staff, the back end, very large scale operation.
Were you managing some of
Now,
those team members too, or what was your role
yeah,
there?
yeah. So I was one of the franchise owners there, and was just kind of in kind of some of those. I was an owner partner was the official
Got it.
name of it.
Okay.
And so we were in there and really helped build out a lot of the real estate processes with the team and managed all of those things and you know helped alongside of everyone else create those and get some of those things rolling. But for the most part, mainly just kind of selling and speaking on stage. And I was on that front end of things more so of kind of the pretty face and shaking hands and selling, right? That was more that angle of it more so than the back end, which was a complete switch from kind of when I started. I was the guy building the campaigns and writing the articles and doing all of the stuff. Of course, I had VAs helping and all that, but now, man, we're honestly a very lean, mean machine. It's myself and 3 other individuals right now. Probably over the summer, it'll grow to a team of about 5 or 6, just as we continue to scale. And I think it's really important. I think that every entrepreneur goes through their journeys of just understanding what they really want out of their entrepreneurial journey of like, okay, do we want to get to $10 million? Do I want to spend more time with my kids? Like, what's really like the thing that's really driving me? And for me, man, I just through literal trial and error, figuring out it was, hey, how do we scale and grow and more and more and more? And then I realized, oh, my daughter's 3 already. How did that happen? She was just born yesterday. I thought, I feel like I missed my oldest's first, 2.5, 3 years. I mean, obviously I was there, but like it just went by so fast because it wasn't my intention there, right? It wasn't my focus. Well, now she's only 4. And so it's been about a year since kind of those aha, like, oh my gosh, I better like catch this now before she's 17. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I missed her whole life, right? And so I think for now, for me, it's much more about how do I build the lifestyle that I want. That just yesterday, my wife and I went to a quick little a day trip for her birthday that's coming up here on Easter, actually. And so just trying to fit that in. Well, guess what? I was like, hey, it's a Tuesday night to a Wednesday. Let's just go. Like we didn't like, let's do it, right? So more about that lifestyle thing. So definitely, we are not going to grow this monstrosity of an agency again. We're going to keep it very lean and 30 to 40 clients and just doing really, really well and helping them and help them live the lifestyle that they want to live while they're helping us live the lifestyle that we want to live as well, right? So I think that's kind of where I'm at least at the moment, is kind of in that journey. Yeah.
What was the moment for you where you realized, or the moment for you that you made the decision that you're going to pivot, you're going to leave this other company and go back to steel marketing? Because you were doing steel marketing prior, and then you
Right.
switched to this company, and
Yeah.
then now you're back to steel marketing. So what was the moment for you that made you say, no, here's my clear vision, here's what I'm going to do?
Yeah. So I think that when I merged with the other agency and kind of left the steel marketing name back in 2021, again, at that moment, it was all about how do I grow? How do I scale? How do I just like push this thing as big and far and high and wide as we possibly physically could? And I think there were a few different moments that they had happened, but I didn't really realize it until close to about a year after the fact. But we had our second child in March of 2021. And about 6 weeks later, I traveled to our head of operations down in Nicaragua. And, it's where our 200 individuals on staff were. They were all in this office and went there to go do a bunch of stuff with them. And, we had at the time, a 2-year-old and a 6-week-old. And my wife had just pushed a baby out. Like, that's not an easy thing to go and do, right? And I don't speak from experience on that. I've just been told it's not exactly easy, right? So, I digress. Anyway, so, going from that and leaving for a little over a week at that time, and there was just some certain things that had happened while I was away that were very scary to happen after birth, that there's just things that can go wrong, and some of those things had happened. And so my wife was not only alone with 2 kids, but like, am I gonna die? Like crazy stuff going on. Like, and I'm in a third world country that's at least a 12-hour journey home when there aren't even flights every single day. Like, it's, it's very, I was like, uh-oh, I think I messed up here. And so that was in 2021. And it really wasn't up until I had some coaching from a very good friend of mine now, that more on like the mindset shift and really what, like, the purpose, like why we're here, just focused on the business and on like this finite stuff that has an end. Like, at some point my agency will have an end. Like, it will, like it will end. But then shifting your focus onto the things that are going to really never end. Like, I'm always going to try to be the best possible husband and the best possible father, and be the best possible person to everybody around me. And like, that stuff is an ongoing battle that you can always improve at, right? So kind of shifting my focus and stuff like that into early 2022, that kind of like opened my eyes of like, oh man, I have screwed up, and royally screwed up. Like, I have not been focusing on the things that I really should have been focusing on. So I think it was just kind of a early 2022, just kind of realizing some of the mistakes that I had made. And honestly, just like being really transparent, like going to my wife and saying like, I am so sorry that I screwed up that bad. Like, I let the sake of trying to grow, and it was all for our kids and family and that generational impact and all those good things we all talk about. Like, that was what, honestly, it was all for that. But that I got so jaded and so blinded by that it literally like abandoned ship with my family and just tried to go off and, be this conqueror of the world, right? Because I'm worthless, man. I can't do it. Like, I can't, dude, I have nothing to offer, right? I don't, like, there's just, it's me, man. Like, that's it. Like, I'm not this special human or whatever. Like, so going through all of that, man, I think that really, there wasn't necessarily this aha moment. I think it was just there was a Zoom session of an aha moment for sure in early 2022 that was kind of reflecting on all of those things of how we got to that moment. And I think that was kind of the thing of like, oh, okay. So there's there's a lot to unpack here. Right. So, yeah. So I think it was more so just hiring a coach and a mentor to bring into my life to say, hey, like, let's progress through life and see, like, how do we move forward from all of this, and unpacking all of that really is kind of when that shift happened, man. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I can say for myself, coaches is one of the best investment you can make. I mean, there's a lot of different coaches out there, business, personal, therapy, all this stuff. But definitely can help you if you're at a certain point in your life. I think a coach is a great investment for anybody who's maybe a little off balance. But I want to talk a little bit about your agency, and then we can go into some of the marketing stuff. And I'm sure people listening to this are like,
sweet.
You agency owners, they probably want to talk about marketing, but maybe because, I don't know. I talk about it every day. I'm like, I don't know marketing. But anyway, so 30 to 40 clients, what is your plan if you're going to stay kind of a smaller, leaner agency to get that lifestyle that you want with a small agency? What's your plan to do that?
Yeah, I mean, really, I think it all starts with a really high quality product, right? And that's some things I think that I learned just from experience, right? There's really no failures. If you look at it this way, right? There's really no failures in life. It's really just, hey, next time I'm going to do better. I'm going to change this thing, and do this a little bit better next time, right? It's more of a learning experience and an opportunity there if you look at it that way. And so I think that at the larger agency, I think there was a lot of things that I took and looked at that and said, hey, let's tweak and shift a few things to in the future do them a much better way. And I think for me, getting to that level is really just providing a really high quality level of service. And so really it comes down to not bringing on those really cheap clients. I'm sure you've all have seen some of the memes or what have you, where it's like, this is my last $500. Do you know how important this is to me? Blah, 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 blah. There's big rant about how their last small piece, and hey, I just wired you the $50,000. Thanks. Like that level of client. So we're definitely going after that, not that amount, right? But that mindset of a client that says, hey, invoice is all set. Thanks, man. Like that level of an operation where we're definitely, some of the clients we have on now are more in the $500,000 to $2 million a year kind of levels. They have an operation, they have a team. It might just be 2 people, but there's a team there, there's processes there, there's systems there. So I think it's being very selective about who you actually sign on as a client, number one. But number two is actually making sure that we are providing just a really high quality level of service that if they ever need me, they can just text me and reach out or talk to anybody on staff. Just reach out. Like, we're here, So I think that's finding that balance level, I think for me, is how we're going to get there. And we're already starting off on a great foot, getting back to that, I guess, the peak, right, of 40-ish clients and maxing out there. So, yeah.
So of all the people you sign up, how many end up quitting? Let's say quit. Let's put a time frame on it in the first year, let's say.
Yeah.
I'm curious I know for me, my business, but when you sign someone up, what are the odds they're going to stay with you by end of year from now?
Yeah. So, I mean, right now, restarting under Steel Marketing, the objective is to have that at 0, right? That's what the objective always is, right? But to really set those really high quality expectations, right? To make sure that, we're getting all of those things there. In the past, though, for SEO, the average was about 6 to 7 months. And again, right, this is not, I don't want to get too deep into the woods, but in my opinion, wasn't a very high quality product that we were rolling out. There were some things that could have been improved upon and what have you. That, like, right now, not going to have any of those main issues. Google ads and Facebook ads, the typical lifespan was about 3 months, was the typical 3 to 4 months was the average lifespan, especially, in whether they were wholesaling or flipping, just anything motivated seller wise. That one specifically, investors, was about 3 months.
Which means they would come for, and on average in 3 months, they would dip or whatever.
They would shut down. Yep. In home services that we would help, whether it be roofers or plumbers or whatever, those guys were much more like 6, 7, 8 month ranges on paid ads, because I'll just be honest, they're just not as savvy marketers. They're getting more volume of phone calls coming in, and so because it's a lot cheaper to generate those leads, right? So that was the average, then of most of those things. And again, right, that was a whole different animal there.
Yeah. So why do you think that is? Because I mean, investors leaving within 3 or 4 months, ideally, yeah, for an agency, if your clients never leave, you don't have to sign anyone else up. It's a pretty good business. But right. I just find that and I read, I'm sure you have as well, right? Just like typical agency churn rates in whatever. And a lot of them I read are like, you should shoot for 5% a year. And for anyone listening, churn means just the percent of your clients that leave. Cancellation rate, kind of same thing. And they're like, oh, you should, a great agency churn rate is like 5% a year. And I'm like, man, I don't know what industries they're focusing on, but every agency owner I've talked to, you're not an exception here. Like maybe it's just in our industry specifically, it seems to be kind of that 3 to 6 month range, for at least for Google ads and in Facebook, right? And I'm like, man, what is it? Our industry? Is it that the investors have too many options? Is it? And I've been just racking my brain against it for months and months and months. And I ever since I started my agency, 4 years ago, I'm like, why? What can we do as agency owners to crack the code and to if we had to make it 1 year, if we had to turn that from 3 months to 1 year, what would we do? What is the ideal solution? Why do you think that happens? Why do investors leave?
So I think for a couple of different reasons. I think there's a lot of different things, but this is a factual thing. I shouldn't say that. This is a very strong opinion of mine that I believe 99% of investors would agree with, that this industry is the most high and low industry in the world, right? Everything else, solar, roofing, a plumber, a contractor, lawn care, a dentist, anybody, they have a lot more consistent lead flow, right? There's a lot more people that need their services. Whether I rent my house, whether I own my house, whether I lease, rent to own my house, I don't know, whatever option, my grass has to be cut, right? And man, I don't want to do that. It's hot outside. Let me call somebody, right? There's a lot more volume of that when compared to, okay, so grandma just died who owned her house. It's free and clear. She's in 3 states over. I don't really want to move to Mississippi. Well, I don't know anybody in Mississippi. How do I sell my grandma?
Right.
There's such a smaller pool of those people. And so I think that's one side of it. But I think the most killer side of it is honestly social media, if we're being honest. I think that every investor sees influencers and friends talk about how they're just killing it, grand slamming it, crushing it every single day. And they begin to compare themselves in kind of a shiny object syndrome way. And you can get shiny object syndrome, not necessarily about new industries to get into or businesses to start, but about comparing yourself. That's a big shiny object syndrome right there that I think people dive into, that they start to compare themselves and say, well, I'm not doing as good as they are on their metrics, on this, on that, the other. And I think they begin to kind of compare themselves. So when you mix in how I just made $100,000 this month to I haven't done a deal in 3 months, but next month I'm closing on 3 flips, then it's going to net me $80,000, right? So I think it's mental, right? It's that very big mental side of things, of lack of financial preparation when it comes to running their operations, very high and low. There's financial illiteracy almost in some of those things. Read Profit First. Okay. Yes. Anyway, so 100%. Just
yes. Sorry, go ahead. I mean, in there. It's
David Richter, Profit First for Real Estate Investors. Go read it. Okay. Anyway,
so right, it's cash flow issues.
Yeah. It's cash flow problems, and so I think that's number one, right? Like the mental side mixed with cash flow is number one, and then you mix in shiny object syndrome. Oh, well, so and so is doing better for me over here, and there's tons of options, so they just leapfrog from one to the next. I've talked to tons of agency owners, and we've, oh, have you helped so-and-so? Oh yeah, they were with me for 6 months. They're with me for 6 months too. And then they went to so-and-so, like there's just ones that had this pattern and this history of, oh, they're not getting me the best results right now. We're just going to go to somebody else who I think is going to give me better results. So I think that when you combine all of those things, man, but it comes back to cash flow problems. And I think that is the number one thing, not being able to sustain when they spend $3,000 in a month on their ads or whatever, and they don't produce a deal. But the next month they get 3 deals from the same spend, right? So if they look at on the course of 12-month averages, well, their cost per contract is probably right in the range where we told them it was at, but they might go 2 months without getting a contract. Right. And mentally, it's taxing and exhausting. But the very next month, they might get 3 or 4 or 5, and you're like, whoa! Like just like I'm sure you've had. And we just had somebody sign up in March, that about March 15th ish, and literally the first week, 3 contracts, like no joke, like destroyed, like amazing, right? And somebody else that signed up March 15th ish up till now, like hasn't gotten any contracts yet. Well, we're still really early in the campaign, but you see the discrepancies there on those sides of things. Part of it's luck, right? Totally. So I think part of it's just the mental side of things, man. It's tough. Very tough.
Yeah. It's almost, it is a good thing that the guy got 3 contracts right away, but in a way, it could be a bad thing because if he's expecting that every
Yeah,
month, he's
it's
like, I got 3 contracts last month.
expectations.
Again, it's like
Yep.
double-edged sword, right? With all that kind of
Yep.
stuff.
Exactly.
So, yeah, interesting. Okay, so I want to talk about let's get into some marketing stuff. We got
Yeah.
30 minutes left here. So let's say for anyone who's a beginner, they probably can't afford either one of us.
Yep.
What would you recommend to them to get their first deal?
So here's what I tell everyone out there if they're like, hey, I'm trying to get my very first deal ever, right? So a couple of things. Number one, go, especially if you're targeting your local area, go to the local REIA meetups or whatever they are called in your area. Go meet people, talk to people. There's a very likely potential that you can go and work with a few people for percentages of deals and kind of be their runner, the boots on the ground, the project manager, the whatever for a little season to get some traction, some experience. So that's one angle there. But two really good things I always suggest to people that are like, how do I get my first deal? I don't really have any money. What do I really do here? Well, number one, Facebook Marketplace and Facebook groups, great places to go into, make some posts, some sweat equity in there of just banging the phones and, going through all of those things there. That's something that is a great way to go do that. In addition to that, I always tell people this as well. Like, if you can do your own SEO, that is going to save you a ton and get you really high quality leads. If you're really looking to like ramp it up, that can be a great thing to go and invest. Go watch some YouTube videos. There's tons of them out there. Buy some courses. But if you don't have anything, YouTube's free, right? Like, you can go watch videos and go do some of those things there. I think SEO is a great starting point. I always tell everyone that, like, it's a skill set that you can learn and go and apply in multiple different industries, whether you're, hey, I'm going to go start a roofing company. I don't know, right? Like, you can go and use those same principles in multiple different fields. So getting in some of those Facebook groups, for sale by owner stuff, and just really just pounding the pavement really to get the first one. And then from there, you can invest the sweat equity into the SEO side of things. It's not going to cost you any money. It's just going to cost you time, right? It's awesome to be able to go and invest that to get some traction.
Gotcha. How many? I know you're doing real estate yourself, which I love. I love the agency owners who are also doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Over the course of your real estate career, how many deals have you done in total, roughly?
I mean, ballpark, between 200 and about 250-ish, somewhere in that range. And those are all of the flips, wholesales, the JV deals, that's everything there. Yeah, since about early 2016.
So you've done about 250 deals in total.
Yep.
Crazy. That's awesome, man. So what business do you like better, real estate or being an agency owner?
The age-old question, huh? The age-old question. Man, so here's
doing both, right? So maybe
so here, it's tough, man. I like both for a lot of different reasons. I like both of them for a lot of different reasons. I think the real estate part I love because of the upside, right? But then at the same time, it's like you can go through the droughts in the seasons. It's inconsistent, right? So that's the part that I don't love as much. On the agency side, there's a much lower upside, right? There's not this massive, oh, I'm going to go make $25,000. Like, it's just not going to happen overnight. Like, it just doesn't happen. But the consistency factor is there, right? So if I had to pick one, gun to my head, you can only do one for the rest of your life, pick right now, I'm probably going to pick the agency route, just because one, I'm just really good at the marketing side of things, right? I mean, I'm just really good at that end of the spectrum. So I think just from a consistency level of things, definitely think the agency would take the cake, I think, because of that. If I had to pick. Yeah,
I agree. So what makes a good marketer? Let's pick Google Ads, because I do Google Ads. I don't do SEO. I don't do Facebook, so I can't really go as deep into that. But let's say for Google Ads specifically, and you can generalize it if you want, but what makes a good marketer in the real estate investing space for that versus a bad marketer?
I think the biggest thing is the experience. I mean, honestly, I think that the lack of knowing how the real estate investing industry works, I think is the biggest red flag when you're going to hire any sort of an agency. I think that right there is anybody can run an ad for a roofer. Do you have a leak in your roof? Call right now. Like it's really easy, right? It's very simple. But when you come into our space, it's a whole different can of worms, because it's not. I mean, how many times have you seen somebody say, "Hey, my ads are struggling. I hired a VA on Fiverr, Upwork, whatever," and you look and you're like, "Oh, should be fun," and you see realtor, real estate agent, all these wrong
Homes for
things that
sale.
we're just like,
Yeah.
"Oh no,"
Yeah.
you're like, "I'm crying on the inside for you," like. So I think the experience level is the thing that separates the bad marketers from the good ones in our space. And when I talk about experience, I mean knowledge and experience about doing actual transactions. Have they been involved in transactions from start to finish and understand how that works and how that process flows? Because it's a bit of a different animal, right? It totally is. It is a really unique piece of it, because when you come into it's not just lead generation. There's multiple different angles to this, that if you're not giving advice and helping the investor, saying, "Hey, you guys don't have automations in your CRM built out to follow up with these leads. Well, here's some ideas and some tips and tricks and things you should go and add and do, and I can help you with, or tell you, go talk to so-and-so to help build those things out." Like, there's this full scope of work that a good marketer can kind of be a pseudo, like a coach on almost, and say, "Hey, have you thought about this or that?" And so in my mind, the experience level is the thing that separates the good from the not so good.
So if you could build the perfect sales system for your clients, you got the marketing down, but the sales system, what would the perfect sales system look like for you?
I mean, are we talking like system, like the actual, like the platform CRM that we would use, or just like the overarching idea of it?
Let's say all of your clients, gun to your head, had to be successful, right?
Yeah.
And your marketing works, and over a long period of time it works, but you have no idea what their sales process looks like. And you are the one that has to implement and build it for them. And then they run it. Let's assume they can follow it and the training is perfect, whatever. But what does the system actually look like?
So really it looks like this. And this is actually what we do on the real estate side, is as soon as a lead comes in, they're getting automated text messages for the next 3 days until they respond.
Once a day?
So multiple times, a lot actually. In the first 15 minutes, they're getting 3 phone calls and 5 messages sent to them, waiting about a half an hour, calling them again. So the first, and now it's all, if they come in at 2:00 in the morning, right? It's all separated based on times, right? So it stops at 9:00 at night. And so nothing past that happens in terms of like really insane texts, RVMs, all of that stuff. So in the first about 15 minutes, they're getting 3 different phone calls, 5 different texts. And then about 30 minutes later, another phone call and another text. Wait a couple of hours, more texts and more, until they are answering, right? And we say things like, "Hey, maybe you're at work, so sorry, I'm really not trying to be a bother. We're just excited helping folks," something like that, right? Really like nonchalant and those things. So it's really robust, that you don't have to have a human touching it, right? Anytime like you can put automation in place of where a human is, I think for a lot of things, I think that's a really, really good angle to do those things on, not in the negotiation part, but in just warming up leads. So that's what's going to happen up front. And then from there, we just have different sequences based on what potential responses are, right? The typical like answers of a seller are like, "Yes, let's move forward." "No, we're shopping your offer around." Like, we've got multiple people in on this. "Well, we've got spouse, siblings whomever that we need to talk to. We're kind of in this, yeah, we're kind of there. And then just the fourth of just like flat out no, right? Like just too high. No, we changed our mind, whatever, right? So creating different sequences for each of those four, potentials. And, there might be one or two offshoots and variations as well, but those are like the main ones. Building actual automations out to go out to put them in those different categories to text them. Hey, and I know you had to talk to somebody important in your life about the house. Just wanted to check in, see how things are going. Are there any questions I can answer for you? Would love to help. That's how we build those things out. That right there is the system that we have seen time and time again work really, really well for clients when they're able to kind of automate those kind of in-between periods, right? It's really easy to close a deal when you got a really good motivated lead on the phone that doesn't need a lot of warming up, right? Like you don't need automation then, right? You don't need that stuff. It's really easy. When you get those people that are, maybe they're a nurse, they work these crazy 12-hour shifts and all these crazy things, it might slip through the cracks if you don't have those cracks patched appropriately with the right automations, right? So I think that in my opinion, that's exactly how the best sales process is making sure that those things that fall through the cracks, that's where you focus most of your attention on.
I love that. Yeah, thanks for that detailed breakdown. I think a lot of investors don't focus enough on sales. They don't make it a priority, or they have their ego in the way and they're like, my sales is good enough. I'm like, well, it's probably actually not good enough because we got 50 leads and you didn't close the deal. So,
their sales process is actually like their sales ability, I should say, is actually probably pretty good. They're probably right about that.
Right.
But the systemized process, how they take a lead to contract, that's where the problem lies. Yeah,
Right.
like your ability face-to-face in a living room, you're probably batting 500 to 700. You're probably really freaking good.
But you got to get there.
But you got to get in the living room, right? You got to get in front of that seller. That time from that lead to the living room, that's where it really, really matters.
Yeah, agreed 100%. I love that you said that. Okay, so I want to pivot a little bit. Curious your thoughts on AI. It's been a big buzz recently. I've been experimenting with it in a lot of different ways. I tried this company 11 Labs where I tried to get to synthesize my voice so I could just make content without actually doing it. You just type it out and then it synthesizes your voice, upload a few clips. Didn't work. I was bummed out. I was like, this is not revolutionary. It didn't sound anything like me. But are you using currently, or are you looking into any ways to use AI for marketing for real estate investors?
Yeah. So right now, the biggest way that we're doing this is using Chat GPT to help on the SEO content side of things. They are not, and I repeat, they are not, that platform is not writing 100% of all of our articles for our clients. That is a very quick way to get sandboxed, which is nobody wants to be in that. No, not good.
Flagged by Google. I guess that means you.
Yeah, so that means that Google's going to flag you and shut your website down from their search engine from showing up. That is like the worst possible hell to be in, is that like, you're like, I got to start a brand new domain, brand new website all over again. Like that. It's horrible, right? So we're really utilizing it to come up with more ideas for us, right? I think a lot of our content team, and this was true when we had 30 to 40 content writers on staff, a lot of the time was spent kind of coming up with ideas and doing the research and doing all of those things. Well, when you have something that can do a lot of the research for you, like, hey, give me 5 links and 5 sources about foreclosure in the state of whatever, and it spits out the government articles and then can give you the top 10 points from that article. Well, you just collapse the research time from 2 hours to 20 minutes.
It outlines your content.
You can be a lot more efficient, right? Yeah. So content outlining is really how we are utilizing that, because Google has already come out and said that they are working on the AI to detect content written by AI. So there's going to come a time where people are going to and I already know folks doing this, that they're shortcutting it, and they're just like, hey, Elon Musk's special system, can you just spit out all this content for me? Enter. And they're copying and pasting it straight to their site without even reading it.
Right.
You could be talking about creating a Mexican food recipe and slapping it on and talking about foreclosure, but they're not even reading it. Like it's too, or you could just be totally wrong, right? And so there's the really the danger about that. And it could also sound like it's a robot, right? Like there's certain things within human language that, don't get me wrong, the AI that's out is incredible and can get around most of that. But when it's a very complex niche article about something, well, even Chat GPT that everybody seems to hail as the best thing ever might struggle still on some of them. And we have seen it not be perfect on some of those things. And so you have to really make sure that you're giving it that human, touch to it, that you're actually giving a knowledgeable person that's reading through it to make sure it's done right. But man, that's really right now what we're doing is using it for the content outline and idea generating side of things, because it even has access to Google's keyword planner. And so we're even asking it questions about, hey, what's somebody more likely to search? They're more likely to search sell my house or sell my home, stuff like that. And it gives you lots of different inputs based on, or gets a lot of outputs based on what you put in it. That it's been amazing. So we're not utilizing it in this like big, massive, earth-shattering way necessarily, like some folks claim to be and perhaps are and what have you, but it's definitely making us more efficient. That again, it used to take us 2 hours, is taking 20 minutes. And so we're like, well, with that extra hour and 40 minutes, we can be accomplishing many other things, right? And so just the efficiency factor is what we're most keen on it right now, is just helping us be super efficient.
Got it. Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I mean, I don't do SEO, but I've been testing it out, plugging even campaign data in there. Like, hey, here's our campaign stats, conversion rates, whatever, analyze it. And they'll be like, oh, your search impression share is this, and we think you could do this. And, it's like, yeah, duh, I already know that, so it hasn't really done anything for me yet, but we got to stay on top of it, because maybe at one point there'll be a tipping point, and it will.
I think there will be at some point. It's just a matter of just number one, keeping on top of it, and number two, not letting it replace the human side of things, right? I think that there's going to be a wave of investors and just business owners in general, but specifically investors, that are going to try to use AI to replace a marketing expert. At least today, as we sit here in 2023, it hasn't happened yet. We still have the place of experience here today, doing better than anything else out there. Maybe in 10 years from now, that might shift and change, perhaps. But at least for today, AI is only a supplemental helper than it is hey, let's take it over, and it can take it over to replace it, right? It's just not there yet.
Gotcha. Okay, I 100% agree. We got a few minutes left, so I want to kind of rapid fire questions, and then we can wrap it up with anything you want to finish off with. So cash conversion cycles, I don't hear a lot of people talk about it. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know, the time when you put money out for marketing versus when you actually make your marketing dollars back. Because since you do SEO, Facebook, PPC, social media, can you just break down maybe really quick, if you know, or your best guess on when investors could expect, kind of talking about cash flow management here, which one they should choose, when they would expect to get their money back from these different channels if they're investing?
So it definitely depends on the exit strategy for sure, right? So I guess the best thing is to start on that side of it, right?
Let's just say when they're buying, let's say time when they put marketing out to when they get the deal. Let's say that when they close on the deal, because it could be a flip and be 6 months, So.
Right, exactly. So from the time from like lead generation to contract, right? Or maybe even to closing on it, right? Them actually acquiring it. Usually on the SEO side, I tell everyone this, depending on where you're at, it's going to be somewhere between 6 and 12 months before you even really get a bunch of leads flowing in, let alone a contract. The bigger area you're in, the longer it's just going to take on that. The Google ads side, and even the Facebook ads side, is typically between 2 to 4 months, somewhere in that range is the real typical, like I'm investing money. Here's a contract coming out to me, and it kind of snowballs from there. That's typical conversion cycle there that we see on all of those channels.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. 100%. Now, anything that we want to wrap up with, I appreciate your time here. Anyone who listened to my podcast, I did one. I came out last week. It's like 3 hours long. So there's so many things I didn't get to ask you that I wanted to do. So maybe we hop on again sometime. I know we could
man,
go a lot deeper into specific marketing stuff that we did. And I'm sure some people are like, so maybe we'll do this again. But anything that I didn't ask that you just want to share really quick before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the biggest thing that I always tell everyone is that you always want to make sure that you're actually ready to dive in to hiring an agency, right? Like, talk to either one of us, and like, we're not going to sell you because we're just going to sell you to make a sale. Like, we're going to be honest with you and tell you, hey, are you actually ready to do paid ads or to do SEO or whatever? So I think, number one, if you guys just surround yourself with the right people that are just going to shoot you straight, I think that right there is the biggest thing that every investor needs to strive toward, is getting themselves surrounded by people that are just going to be really upfront and honest with them when it comes to being successful. And so and the last thing I'll say, don't compare yourselves to everybody else. Everyone's got their own marketing campaigns, their own systems, operations, journeys, everything. Yeah, in context, it's okay to maybe compare some numbers, but you don't want to take it with, oh my gosh, Chicken Little, the sky is falling, right? We need to be analyzers based on data more so than emotions, right? If somebody else is getting cheaper cost per contracts than you, okay, well, ask why. Oh, wait, you're targeting 10 states and I'm targeting one metropolitan region? Oh, well, that's why. My marketer doesn't suck that I'm hiring. We have two different business models. So we have two different output rates. Oh, wait, you lose 4 out of every 10 contracts you sign?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, I lose 1 out of every 20. Oh my, that would stress me out. Right. So comparing those things, right? Looking at all of those things, make sure before you guys make any leaps and jumps and assumptions that you're looking at every piece of the equation before jumping into that. And it's good to seek advice from agency owners like us, like I said, right? That we're going to be like, okay, we're going to ask you the tough questions. So, well, have you thought about this angle? Have you looked at this? Oh, well, no, I haven't. Okay, well, let's dive into that before you leave who you're with and even come to me. Like, whoa, time out, buddy. We need to figure some things out first. So just really want to encourage you guys just to be very analytical in how you look at things, and promise you it's going to pay off big time. And go read Profit First. Just read it. All right. And rant.
So it's funny. I have we'll wrap it up here, but I have a YouTube video coming out. I got David Richter. I gave him one of my, from a couple of years ago, my P&L for just my wholesaling business. And we go through the whole income statement, and he just like rips it apart. And he's like, this is how you do it. This is what you should have done. He's a very smart guy. So yeah, highly recommend. Check out my YouTube video coming out. It's coming out in the next week or so. It'll be good. So yeah, thanks again, Caleb, for coming on today.
Yeah, Tim.
Much appreciated, man. Let's definitely do this again. And if anyone wants to come find you, what's the best way to do it? And it won't hurt my feelings if anyone goes, where's Caleb? It's okay, But so
man,
where can they find you, man?
I'm the only one of me in the world. So if you look my name up, Caleb Luketic, Google me, look on Facebook, whatever. I'm literally the only one of me in the world. So you can't not find me. But honestly, social media is a great spot to go hang out. Also, my website, calebluketic.com. You can go find me there as well.
Sweet. Thanks, Caleb. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the insights. Man. Take care.
Absolutely.